The polls had this as a tight race, and some with Kamala even ahead. But what if I told you that this could all be a facade? Let's go back and look at the polls from the 2016 election, where here we can clearly see that Hillary Clinton here had a pretty strong lead over Donald Trump, about a 3 to 4% margin up above Trump, and we all know how that turned out. I mean, this election right now is going at the same trajectory. Just look at the pace that Trump has been going at and the pace that Harris has been going at. Harris has steadily climbed the polls out of nowhere from about 25, 30%, all the way to now being a fully tied race at 49% each. This is eerily reminiscent of the polls that were going on with Clinton, except Clinton was the clear favorite, and by storm, Trump took the election. And this is the same thing that could possibly going on here, where Trump's lead could slowly be diminishing as we get closer to November, and Harris's polls are going to be inflated to represent those similar to Hillary Clinton. But lo and behold, we all know polls just shape public opinion, and Clinton really lost the election and it wasn't really close. Reason being is because she lost the whole blue wall, she lost the Rust Belt states, and Trump also flipped 3 other states. But what if this time is different? Could Kamala really be leading in all 3 Rust Belt states and it's not even close? Look at Michigan, for crying out loud. Well, let's go look at what Tim Pool has to say about this and his belief that these polls are really just overinflated.
The question is that Kamala's actually doing substantially worse than people realize. The polls are way over favoring her.
Yeah, sure.
And their internal polling shows that they're actually weak in Minnesota. The polling shows that in Minnesota, it may be Democrat, but barely. It could be a toss-up state that we're not considering. They recognize they could actually lose Minnesota. And so their thought process was, let's get Tim Walz. Hopefully that can win us some edge in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, but we need a defensive barrier in Minnesota. Otherwise, we lose that too.
So can you believe what Tim Pool had just said? The fact that maybe they're not polling well in Minnesota? If Trump wins Minnesota, this election is just over at this point. This could be a red landslide. Because if he wins Minnesota, that sentiment could carry into all the Rust Belt states. And he really only needs one Rust Belt state to win, given the fact that these could potentially be a lock. This could be 322 to 216, dare I say. But like I said, that's just another theory. We have no idea if that's even the truth. Let's just ask what JD Vance has to say about this.
I know you're covering the Vice President here. I figured I'd come by and one, just get a good look at the plane, because hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months. But I also thought you guys might get lonely because the Vice President doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days.
Benny Johnson just saying out a video here, JD Vance, his plane was also in the same area that Kamala Harris's plane was, and he straight up puts a bombshell. Hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months. Guys, Kamala Harris hasn't answered a single question, not addressing any policy issues whatsoever. But don't take it from me, they were Ben Shapiro, who's keeping a counter. 19 days since she became the de facto nominee, and she hasn't answered a single question, while President Trump had just done another press conference answering questions at Mar-a-Lago. So just take a look back at the 2016 polls. You take a look at Tim Pool and a lot of the other pundits and what their theories are. And the fact is, this is just a honeymoon phase. They haven't even answered a single question. Look at the poll from 538 right here. Does this not ring a bell from 2016? How is Harris even up when Trump was up on a landslide against Biden? This is completely preposterous. The polls could honestly be wrong, and we could have a Trump landslide.